Oh, it's working. Perfect.
Nice.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the Mantuary podcast. This is my sanctuary. It's the man cave. So I decided to slap them together and call it the Mantuary. I am half of one of your hosts. My name is Marine X. My beautiful wife, Danny Lene, is not here tonight, but I got a guest for y'all. Okay. So I'm pretty sure, you know what I'm saying? The guest tonight can halfway fill the shoes of the beautiful Danny Lene and still make some stuff happen. Let me know what you got in your pocket today, where you're at, what the temperature is. Hopefully it's not too freaking cold. It's already starting to turn springtime here. So I'm feeling really, really good about some stuff like that. We'd like to talk about topics that we got going on today and all of that good stuff. And I got to bring in my guy, Jared with Neeves Knives. And we're coming through just enjoying ourselves and all of that good stuff. Sir, thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate that, dog. How's it going?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So tell
Doing
us
well.
about yourself, man. Like, you know, where can we find you? How long you been in the game? What the background, all that good stuff.
So Neeves Knives on YouTube. I've been doing it for a few years now. I got a channel on, or not channel, a page on Instagram, Neeves Knives on TikTok, Neeves Knives all the way around. I teach knife sharpening and basically review EDC products and knives and stuff like that. I try to do different tests, on different products.
Right.
As controlled as possible. I try to do edge retention tests and things like that to show you what the tool is capable of. So I do different stuff like that, but I'm trying to expand into a lot of other things too, like boots and belts and stuff like that. So
Really?
but
So, well, before we'll talk about that, I'm curious about like when you niche down into knives, did you start off YouTube like diving deep, balls deep into knives, or was it like kind of like you kind of found your way kissing up towards it or what?
no, yeah, I went right to knives because I found the knife community because I grew up like around knives, and hunting and me and my dad had a knife collection, so I was always into knives and I didn't know there was a community. I didn't
Right.
know there was channels and stuff. When I found the channels, I was like, "Oh, wow,
Right
I
up your
never even knew
alley.
this existed." Yeah, so I dove real deep into it, and then I started collecting knives again. I had a small collection going, but I was like, man, I could do this, even though I knew nothing about the internet, nothing about anything to do with YouTube. So when I started, man, I was literally propping a phone up on a laundry basket.
Wow. So wait, hold
Yeah.
on. Like how wait, propping it on a laundry basket, like literally just trying to make it happen any way possible.
Yeah, like a laundry basket that
Yeah.
sits, like a tall one with books, and then like
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
just like lean against the books,
And so,
whatever I
okay.
had to do, I'd make it happen.
So stroke. Okay, I need you to toot your own horn for a second, man. What's your subscribe? Not views count on YouTube, but just for your own sake, what's your subscriber count at, man? From going from laundry baskets to what?
I think 284 right now, 284,000.
Okay,
Hopefully we hit. I'm hoping we hit over 300 this year. That'd be great.
man,
Right
that's
now, though, like
fantastic.
you just said, though, I'm not
Yeah.
even worried about. Not that I wouldn't appreciate more subscribers, but right now I'm really focused on getting the view count up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is, like you said, the most important. So,
Yeah, I think back in the day, like 2009, 2010, subscribers mattered for how much YouTube paid you, how much
mhm,
people watch you and stuff. But now it's all about YouTube
the
cares
views.
about how good your video is, how long you're keeping folks on there, all that type of stuff, and all that good stuff. I
Yes,
guess.
sir.
So are you a? So I know you're sipping on what, coffee, right? Of course, this is my man
Yeah.
cave, so I gotta tell folks what I'm drinking. But what are you sipping on, man?
I got some espresso. I'm drinking
Mm,
coffee. We got an espresso machine in the kitchen. Kara's a coffee master, so she ran multiple different Starbucks, and so
wow.
she knows everything there is to know about coffee. And she's taught me the little tiny bit that I know, so I can make
Hmm.
a damn good coffee. That's about it. But
That
but
makes sense.
she usually is the one that makes it for me though, and
I,
she'll
I
come out with some extravagant shit stuff you've never even seen before. It looks like a damn dessert.
It's so crazy because a part like a component of my man cave is a good coffee mess. I call it in the Marines we call it a coffee mess, like a mess of shit. And
Yeah.
so my coffee mess is like freaking just like you're describing. That's how I need to do a tour. I owe everybody a freaking man cave tour. It's coming. I promise y'all. Okay, We're gonna make that happen as well, man. So
And
I gotta
so
make that
many of us
happen.
drink coffee, so it
Yep.
makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't even know why. It's something I just kind of need to do more of, but we'll make that happen. So, well, I
Mhm.
guess we could talk about what I'm drinking. So, first off, I am going to be rocking. Well, let's talk about what I'm smoking and drinking. So, for me particularly, I'm going to be working Underground Nightshade by Drew Estates. Drew Estates, they make all sorts. I don't know if you're a stick guy, but they make a lot of different cigars. And the stick that I'm having tonight is a Robusto. It's a 5x54. It's a Connecticut wrapper. It is, for me, it's fire. It's the type of stick that I buy like boxes of 10 or boxes of 20 of. It's a sweet cream. I get like nutty flavor. Pause. Okay, not that type of nut, but like a nice nutty flavor, but like a little bit of like jelly. And it's just something that's super enjoyable. And if you're not used to having that type of stuff on your palate, it has honey on it, but it doesn't taste sweet, like as too sweet to smoke the whole thing. We're going to pair that. Well, I'm starting off with Woodford Reserve Double Oak, but I'm going to switch over to some Pikesville straight rye whiskey. I like a good rye. I also like a good bourbon. I'm not a real Scotch guy, okay? But these two things together usually get Grandpa excited. And so I usually am just freaking, these are like easy smoker, easy drinkers for me. Like I can get away with having a sip of these during like the middle of the day and just continue my work day. Are you into like bourbon and sticks and stuff like that?
So no, not really, but my dad was a cigar man, so like I actually want to get into cigars. I love cigars. I
Hmm.
grew up around them. I actually worked at a distillery for a couple years after I was done doing construction. How I got into the channel was actually when I was working at the distillery. I was able to start the channel because like
Oh,
doing
wow.
construction, you're doing so much stuff. It's nearly impossible to do anything else. So when I was working at the distillery, it gave me an opportunity to do that. So I was making whiskey, making bourbon, and yeah, it was awesome. And I would have tons of bottles of it. I was, not drinking it constantly, but I
Yeah.
had my pick of the litter,
I think,
So
I imagine that if I was making it, I would probably, I don't know if I would get tired of being around it all the time. Like, I don't know if I would be interested in doing it all the time. I guess it would be something I would have to dive deep into. For me, it's just a treat to be able to enjoy it every now and again.
yeah. Well, that's kind of how I would do it. I wouldn't drink it, but basically like every couple months I would because I would get a bottle, like a special bottle, something that we made, something that was like kind of special, something that we made like a limited edition of, and I'd savor it, and then when like the time was with the family or something like that, I'd pull it out and it'd be really good.
Yeah, that
And like
makes sense.
sometimes we'd have some aged for years, so it's like we can't even open it or mess with it till this date.
So like
So
how long would that be sometimes?
3 years minimum.
Wow.
In
Wow.
order for like it to be whiskey, it has to be 3 years minimum
Okay.
inside the burnt barrels. But some of them would be way longer than that.
Hmm.
We would have different dates.
Wow. Yeah, see, I didn't even for me personally, I've gotten into Rise recently and I've been trying to, really expand that out. If I need to send you, I'm gonna send you a box of some of my favorite smokes. I'll get your
I
information,
love
man,
that.
because there's
Yeah,
just
I
some that
love
are
that.
easy smokers, especially if you're trying to get into it and stuff like that. And so for me, and I guess that I gotta dive into now. Don't freaking, what I'm saying, don't make fun of me. I'm gonna pocket check myself. We'll see what's being rocked out and all of that good stuff, man. So I'm a Benchmade sheep. I'm a peasant, okay, of the Benchmade. So I'm rocking a Benchmade bailout. It has the aluminium scales. I don't like the actual glass breaker. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's kind of nonsensical. I think it could be removed. I'm not too sure of that, but I'm a
Yeah,
big
pretty sure
fan.
it can.
It can. Okay. I like the M4. I love the aggressive Tanto. I'm not supposed to like it this much because of how shitty Benchmade has been to people lately, but it just gets me, it gets the motor going. Like it just really does get the motor going. Like overall, I think I like it a lot because of how well the actual thumb studs are, like the little knurling on the thumb studs. The crossbar lock is just so freaking awesome. I don't know, like, is the Benchmade, is this a recommend, other than the price still being egregious, is a bailout still an easy recommendation for you or what?
Personally, for me, I love the bailout. I like it
Hmm.
more than the bug out.
Really?
And I like the bug out, but
Hmm.
I, for some reason, I lean more towards the Hogue Deca between those two because of the price point.
Yeah.
But the bailout, something about the lightweightness, I find it just to be more snappier. I find it to even feel higher quality in my, from my
Hmm.
experience than the bug out. So I think it's worth it. I know it's a high price, just like everything Benchmade does, but I love it.
Yeah, I think when I initially picked it up, it was kind of like, I'm just gonna pick it up and see if I like it. I think I could agree that I like it more than the bug out. I have the Hogue Deca. I like that's like a warning, right? I think the blade shape on that,
Yeah,
not
I
all
know
of them,
they
but
does. They have a
or
drop
clip.
point and a warning. They do
Okay,
both.
okay.
Yeah.
And so I got the warning, and I think that's what CPM 20 CV. It took that able lock, the crossbar. It just took so long to work it, to break it in for me. It kind of turned me off. But now I've
Really?
had it for a couple years. That I'm okay. The detent's kind of where it should be.
So mine came perfect, but I swapped my scales to original goat scales. They're USA made, and they take the Deca and they make it a whole nother knife.
Wow.
Like it
Okay.
just the quality just goes through the roof when you have those scales on there. And I got the MagnaCut version, and what they did was when they originally started running MagnaCut, they were running it at 62. A lot of people were complaining. I did a cut test on one of them that was 62,
Hmm.
and it didn't do great, but it wasn't horrifying. But they wound up upping it 1 year later, and now they're doing it to 63 to 64, and it is much better. So
So for Magna Cut, don't most people want it to ride around 60, 63, 64 for Magna Cut?
yeah, for folding knives, yeah. If it's
Yeah.
a fixed blade or something, then 62, 61 is good. But for a folding knife, there's no reason to, in my opinion, have it under 63 because at 64, 65 HRC, it's still tougher than 20 CV and M390 at 61.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
See,
So like it just, if you think about it, it doesn't make sense not
so
to.
Kubi's been sending me some knives lately, and I've been watching your content, trying to figure out more about like hardness, toughness, edge retention, and so I've been really. It's hard for me to make recommendations for stuff that can't tolerate me taking it hunting, everyday use around the house, doing stupid shit. I actually got some acid on my Spyderco PM2 when I was acid washing my pool, and I kind of fucked up the blade, but it still works really, really good because of Spyderco and just how well they treat their freaking knives. And it had acid on it, like the tip is all jacked up.
It's actually what I'm carrying right now. I got the Rex 45 Manix GP
Oh
knives
my god.
exclusive. It's a
Hmm.
lightweight. This is a no-brainer. They're 145 bucks, USA made, Rex 45 steel, and this Rex 45 is so good. Like all of Spyderco steels for the most part are done extremely well. If you want to make sure you get a good heat treat, just check out Spyderco.
So you
They're
said
pretty
this,
much guaranteed.
that's the man. 'Cause, I got the Shaman last year, and I don't carry it
Mhm.
that much. I don't know if it's just because it's too chunky, but it was
It
between
is a
the
lot
Manix
chunkier. This
and
is
and
very
the Shaman.
lightweight.
Okay.
If you ever tried a lightweight? Because
Nah.
there's different versions of this. This one's a lightweight and it's very light, but the lock is super strong and robust. So it has like a unique feel to it because of the lock, and also the detent from the ball lock is really nice for the reverse flick.
So it's
It
so
offers like
crazy.
a perfect detent.
So the reverse flick is my favorite part of most Spydercos, other than the ones that are that have like lockbacks, because that's not going to happen. But I so I shop on base for a lot of stuff, and I ended up my next. So you said that's the Manix. So I kind of need to kind of.
Yep.
I've been interested in this. Is it called the Canis? I've never heard of it, but
Yeah. So the thing I don't like about that one, because I
mhm.
have had that one. Well, the ergonomics are a little weird on it when you hold it, when you squeeze it. Actually, if you want to really squeeze the knife, personally for me, I found it uncomfortable to really
Right.
squeeze onto. And then the I believe, if I remember correctly, when you disengage it, kind of like the Shaman, it comes down and hits you. I
Yeah, the
believe that
Shaman.
one does.
Well, the Shaman does come down and hit me. I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't slice my finger open,
no, right.
but it
But that
definitely
one there,
does.
the problem I had was the ergonomics for me. I never wanted to really slice with it.
So you said so they have on base, they have the Manix 2 lightweight for 136, or I can get the Manix 2 coated lightweight for 130. Are those prices decent or no? Those
So
that's
there's
tax
different
free.
ones. So So right now on
Mhm.
Blade HQ,
Uh-huh.
you can get M4 steel, coated M4 for $135, but it has
Wow.
mint green FRN scales. Then on GP Knives, it's 145 for the Rex 45. Both of those steels are absolute monsters. Like they're
Mhm.
just phenomenal steels. So my favorite steel from Spyderco is the K390, but right now they're not doing a Manix in that steel.
So I do have a lightweight pair of 3, and I like it a lot. And
Okay.
so I guess that, but I didn't know that there was a difference between the regular pair of 3 and the lightweight, because I bought some scales from AWT for the regular, and they absolutely don't fit. So
Oh,
hard
they're
lesson.
very different. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
very different.
Like lesson learned after I got the knife all the way pulled apart is when I figured out
Mhm.
that they're absolutely are not the same. So,
Yeah.
that's something, a hard lesson learned. So you said I don't have my pen and pad, but the Manix is something I'm checking out next, because is that a made in America Spyderco? Because some are
Oh
Taiwan,
yeah.
right?
Yes. No,
Okay.
it's USA made. Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
And
So oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, and the heat treatment, man, on their steels. Like, if you really want to experience a good heat treatment, that's the way to go. I've sharpened. I couldn't tell you how many knives and tested. I couldn't tell you how many. And Spyderco almost always exceeds everybody else.
100%. So EDC for fun is saying that the crew wear from Spyderco, is that something to look at or what?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. The crew wear. That's my second favorite steel, probably
Okay.
second or
See,
third favorite. Yeah.
I like the crew wear on the Mini Adamas and the Adamas of Benchmade. It's just like the M4 of this bailout and the crew wear on those Adamas and the Mini Adamas. I like it. The Mini Adamas is more favorite to put in my pocket because it's not as big. But
So the cool thing with crewware is, so it has a super long, fine edge holding ability. Like, say if you were going to think about like shaving hair, that sharpness, where
I've
a
seen
knife will
somebody
shave
do
hair.
that with I think an Anthem or whatever they're called from Benchmade. But yeah, I've seen somebody do that at a blade show.
Well, it can hold that sharpness for a very long time.
Hmm.
Once that sharpness goes away, the working edge kind of goes away pretty quickly. So other steels, like just say like Maximet, for example, it holds a long working edge, but has a very short lasting fine edge. So like its hair shaving ability won't last very long, but its working edge will last forever. So it's just kind of the opposite there.
What's the
And
difference
so if you
between a
like,
working edge and a hair shaving edge?
so like a working edge would be like being able to cut paper,
Okay.
and a
Okay.
fine edge would be being able to shave hair.
Okay. And so whenever
So
you sharpen, because I sharpen with the TS Prof Pioneer,
yep.
what type of that will produce both edges, or what is that
Oh
focused
yeah.
on?
Yeah. Well, no,
Okay.
you're gonna get off the bat when you're fresh off the stone. You're gonna have a fine edge. Now, if once you've used it for a little while, it's going to go down to a working edge, depending on the steel. And like I said, crewware hangs on to that high level of sharpness for
Right.
a long period of time. So that's kind of it. It's like, the beauty of crewware is its ability, because it's an extremely tough steel. So it has the ability to hold low angle edges, right?
Yes.
Because like
Yep.
some steels will chip out if you go too low of an angle, while crewware will hang on to it and it'll do really well. So it has that. It's the basically the edge stability. It
Is
has
what it
really
does.
good
Oh,
edge stability.
that's an issue I have, especially if I'm gonna. I hate getting out to the field or something like that, and then my shit is not working or doesn't have the edge that I want it to have. I don't know how to use the guided field sharpener very well. It's just not my cup
Yeah.
of tea, and so I look like a jackass trying to do it. And so a lot of times, if it's not right before I leave my man cave, then I am assed out. I'm completely
I
assed
was
out.
doing a short yesterday or day before on these 3 USA made knives, and I was throwing them into a log, and at one point one skipped off and hit the other knife and just blew a chunk out of it. I'm gonna have to
Wait,
sharpen the hell out of it.
did you film that? Did you film it?
I filmed it, but I didn't film that part. I didn't realize until after I was done filming, when I
Right.
was like going back, I realized like, holy cow, like I looked at the edge and it was just like there was like a chunk out of it.
Man,
So
that's crazy.
yeah.
Well, so I just got a freaking lesson in the edges. I appreciate that, man. So one thing I want to talk about is we got to talk about today in history. So a thing I like to do is I kind of like to talk about just, what happened in history today, your thoughts about it. And do you think you would be prepared for a situation like that? So today this is actually yesterday in history. We were supposed to go live yesterday, but we'll make it work as well. Okay. But so in Japan, they had an earthquake and a tsunami. It killed thousands of people. And it's so crazy because it seems like they have this like every 10 years. And they seem to like never be prepared for it. It was an earthquake that happened. It followed on with the tsunami. It hit the shores. It was a 9.0 magnitude earthquake. And if you know about magnitudes of earthquake, that's a freaking panty dropper. Okay, that's something that's taken off everybody. And 18 miles of depth. It killed thousands of people. Do you have like a survival kit inside your house if you need to like? I call it a blackout kit so you can survive inside of your house for 72 hours, maybe 96 hours. Do you have that type of kit?
Not as good as yours. I've seen, and I actually want to talk to you about that. I seen you did a video the other day. I was actually going to ask you a couple questions, but no, I have enough. Like I could probably last, a few days,
right?
But no, I'm not prepared for a long haul. No, I need to do better for sure.
So I have a video, one of my videos. If you ever need some like good video to watch to put you to sleep, you can go to my channel and look up a video. It's called a blackout bag. And a blackout bag is a bag that you put together for you and everybody in the house so you guys can survive 72 hours with everything in that bag. Food, flashlights, water, emergency radios, shit for kids to do, like play dominoes and cards, Uno, shit like that. That I believe that should be one of the first bags you put together, and just every now and again check the batteries. So
yeah, I feel like I have like enough to do okay for a couple days, but yeah, I know it gets, so I've been through a lot of crazy situations.
Right.
So like I've really I lived a crazy life. I've been through like the trenches, and so I know how bad things can get and how hard it can get.
Has it ever been a situation where you found yourself stuck in your house for days on days on days on end, or what? Whether because of weather or civil unrest or whatever.
I was trapped in a house with no power during winter for a year.
A year?
I had a year. I had to build fires every night. No power either, so no electricity. I'd use flashlights and things like that in the fire. Yeah. So, but I've also been in like power outages where it was like unexpected and the power went out for a couple days. The longest I've ever done that for was like 5 days, and it was because my power line under my house fried. Really? And the electric company couldn't come out for like a week or something like that, a week and a half. Luckily, my stepfather works at ComEd, so he sent a crew out on like the third or fourth day.
What's ComEd?
ComEd's the power company.
Okay.
So they sent this box out that would basically run my house, but then that fucking thing started on fire, and so it almost burnt my house down. And luckily, I wound up stopping it right away because I seen it smoking. But then they came and replaced that. So by that time, it was like the fourth day. You know what I mean? So it was like 4 or 5 days.
So I think the longest situation I've had in the States is that bitch of a hurricane. Florence came to my house in North Carolina and had us asked out for about 5 days. But I had so much survival. First off, I was still living in Marine Town, USA. I was still active duty Marine, tons of Marines around. So we all just kind of shoot the shit, drank beers, 30 stones for 10 bones, and just made our way through it, But
you guys are probably at home through that shit.
Yeah, in Afghanistan, there were some there were some situations where it was so fucking cold that I wish I had some of the things here in the States. But, it just...
You said cold?
Cold, yeah.
It gets cold?
Yeah.
It gets cold there?
It gets super cold. Absolutely.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cold.
I always pictured it being super hot.
I mean, it's a desert, right? It's a desert because of the lack of water. That's why it gets the definition of desert. But it still gets fucking cold.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, it still gets freaking... It gets cold. And another thing I wanted to bring up talking about today in history is, today in history, it was another situation that happened where there was some bombing. So we talked about, would you have a bag to keep you so you could survive inside of your house? Now, the bag that you saw me make the other day was a bug out bag, right? And so in 2004, there was the Madrid bombings, and This happened. 1,800 people got killed. 191 people died, and people were going so batshit crazy. They were leaving they were leaving urban centers. They were going to their version of the suburbs. I've been to Spain, so people want to go to the countryside. So like having a prepared bag so that you can get your ass out of Dodge, because you can't get on a train. They're bombing trains. They're taking people out in the streets and stuff like that. Do you have like some type of like go bag or bug out bag or some shit like that?
Yeah, I have stuff like that. That's what I do have. I could definitely improve it. But you know, like with situations like that, you know, all I think about is everybody's going to be robbing and looting. You know, it depends on where you live, I guess. But where I'm at, that's what would happen.
Where are you at?
I'm in the Chicago area, so
Okay.
I'm just, so like it's no matter what, like you want to get the hell out of Dodge as fast as possible. You don't want to be around a city when bad things happen. And the way it winds up working out is everybody's going to be needing things, and they're not going to worry about taking it from you because they're going to feel like they need it more than you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, so I always talk about if you live in uptown, downtown, here in Dallas, we call it the gayborhood. If you live in the gayborhood or uptown or downtown, they call it, the gays call it the gayborhood. Okay. I'm not making this shit up, but if you live in any of those areas, right, you got to have a way to get yourself to the suburbs. And if you live in the suburbs, you got to have a way to get yourself to the rural areas. And, you know, so that's what I think about. And I have a family of 7. And so, you know, that I'm always thinking through those type of situations. And I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'm kind of like an over prepper, you know?
Yeah, no, I better to be prepared.
So
I found that the times when like some of the worst stuff's happened to me is when I wasn't prepared, which is maybe, so like, just for an example, right? Like every time I bring my backpack anywhere, I always bring a pair of socks. The reason why
100%.
is because I've been stuck out in the frost with my feet frozen so bad that I felt like I was going to die so many times. And it's always been when I forgot my bag or I didn't pack like an extra pair of clothes. And the next thing you know, I'm getting soaked. It's, you know, I'm super wet and it's like 5 below zero. And now I'm having to survive frozen, you know, who knows, walking 10 miles because the car's broken down, or who knows what the hell happened, because I've had so many different things. So that's like instilled in my brain, like never to leave without that.
At all, 100%.
Yeah, never.
It's so crazy because for me, so I have a trading kit that I always have with me. One of the things literally in my trading kit is a pair of socks. Like a bunch of socks. Like if I don't, so here in Dallas, we had like a bunch of weather alerts, and I trade all sorts of shit. I trade small bottles of liquor. I'll trade candy. I'll trade socks. I'll trade MREs. These will trade. If people need this shit, people will trade. And it's so funny you mentioned it, because I know some people are gonna think I'm a weirdo because I got a pair of socks behind me, but it's, you know, I'm always ready to trade for shit like this.
I completely get it. And you're right. The little things will be what you'll be trading. And that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Okay. So I seen you had little bottles of liquor for just in case, you know, whether it was for trade or for whatever. And I'm only asking this because I've heard other people say this. I'm not sure how practical it is, but I've heard people say that they keep spare silver, like little pieces of silver that they can break down into multiple pieces, because silver is good for trade, you know, into bad times. Because, well, one, it's such it's mostly for electrical reasons, but I'm sure there's many other reasons, you know, on top of that. But do you ever pack anything like that?
So behind me, I have one of my trading kits that I literally was doing maintenance on the other day. I don't have silver. I think the most valuable thing I have in my kit is ammo. And some people say you shouldn't trade ammo. I have a surplus of ammo, and I have ammo for weapons I don't own. I don't own a 9mm. So I own a lot of 9mm rounds that, you know, if shit ever hits a fan where it's complete chaotic breakdown and I need to get my family shit, I know I could be trading ammo for somebody that can use it on me. I'm not a dummy, but I also am always packing. So it's kind of like if it ever came down to it. So I think that silver can be valuable, nickel can be valuable, ammo could be valuable. But a lot of times we had those storms in 2021 and 2022. I was trading liquor, I was trading candy. I was just trying to get milk for my family because the Walmart was closed. I keep cigarettes because I don't smoke cigarettes, but I keep a bunch of them back here.
I don't smoke anymore. I used to, but I talked about this the last time I did a backpack video. I said, that I always carry a pack of cigarettes, and I do that because I know, I grew up in the project, so like I
Hmm.
know how valuable it can be to get information, to talk to somebody, just to make peace.
Right.
It's something good and valuable to have, and I've used it 1,000 times. So now it's just natural that I have them.
Yeah, and I'm from the hood too. I'm from East Cleveland, Ohio, so I get that. So no, that makes a lot of sense. So another thing I like to talk about is this is next segment is called the Grail EDC Not For Me. So everybody has like this in their mind. They have like a Grail knife that they all aspire to have. And so one of the knives that Best Tech is about to come out with is called the Best Tech Sandback. And I'm probably mispronouncing that. And if I am, guys, you guys just know y'all can pound sand. I'm gonna try my best. But although this thing looks good, right? It's just some things about it that I think are very interesting. First of all, it's a frame lock. I actually only own one frame lock knife, so I wouldn't mind another one.
Really?
Yeah. Now, according to their website, they say the HRC is going to be between 62 and 63. That's according to the website. I don't know how true that's going to be.
Yeah.
And it says it has titanium handle with fat carbon inlays. But the reason this is not for me is it only opens one way. If I'm spending more than $150 on a knife, I want to be able to open it more than one way, 100%. Yep. So a flipper I see flippers on what's that website where you can resell? It used to be called Nav Sale, but they renamed it
Blade Bench.
Blade Bench has flippers all the time because I think people want more. In my opinion, I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but what do you have a Grail knife that you think people find interesting, and it's just some shit that you probably would never be interested in?
Well, there's one in particular that I personally I don't like, and I hate that I don't like it because the designer is my friend. I like him. Jim Skelton is the designer of this. Tuya is the company that makes it, and I love those guys. Those guys are awesome. They've always been really cool with me. Dave Warren, he runs the USA side of Tuya. Awesome dude. Him and his wife. But the Tuya scapoid,
Scapoid?
I can't stand that knife. To me, it's like I holding it. It's painful to me. I don't like anything about the ergos, and it's an expensive knife. It's a nice knife. It's built very well too. It does an amazing job, but it's just not for me at all.
What is it like? What is it about it that you don't like?
So the flipper tab pushes you back when you're holding it. It literally pushes you down the handle. So when you go to cut with it, it's like you're fighting to scoot up.
Okay. Yep.
But it keeps pushing you back.
Nah. See, for me, I don't like pusher tabs that are too pronounced. Like they're out there too far, so where it would get to the ball of my thumb. And I'm not a big fan of flippers because I tend to choke up a lot on a knife, and flippers get in my way when they're deployed.
Right. So and this one is the type that pushes you straight back where you can't. There's nothing you can do.
So I think that Best Tech means the best when they decide they coming out with this knife, and they mean the best. I don't know how well this is going to sell. MSRP $370. I guess you don't think so. I mean, Best Tech is an OEM, so a lot of people they have not. So I have a knife by Tac Knives that Best Tech makes for them, and it's a decent OTF. But I just don't know how well this is going to do. Like,
if they were going to ask me my opinion on this, I would tell them to scrap it because exactly your reason why you said multiple deployments. It has only flipper option, right? Which flippers are cool, and a lot of people love flippers. But when you're spending that much money on, on a knife, premium knife, most people are going to want multiple deployments, especially these days. And then that Magna Cut, the reason why it says, and I don't know this for sure, but I would bet money on it. The reason why it says 62 to 63 is because everybody jumped down their throats when they were doing 60, 61 or something like that on their Magna Cut. So now they're saying 62, 63. Whether or not they're pushing 62, 63, I don't really know. I have no idea. I'd have to test it. But I know before it was a lot lower.
Will content creators, whether it be blog websites or YouTubers or folks who create other content, are they going to be able to test that? You think they're going to test this knife out and be able to validate the HRC?
Well, we can send it to an HRC. There's a bunch of people in the community that have HRC testers. They at any time I can send a knife to a friend and they can do an HRC test.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. For me, guys, I don't know about y'all. Let me know in the chat. Is that something that looks exciting to you? But for me particularly, that is Grail EDC, not for me. And so here's the thing. I know that a lot of people are really, really big into made in America. Okay. Like they're just, a lot of people cream themselves on made in America. There was an article on Industry Week, and this article talked about specifically, is made in America worth the cost and the effect? And it's they're talking about manufacturers, but they're also talking to us, the folks that are buying this stuff. Like, is it really worth it? And so a couple of questions I would ask you, and you guys can go check this out. It's Industry Week. The article is called "Is Made in America Really Worth It?" They bring up some very good points. But Jared, one question I would ask you is, like, do you think that the made in America is worth the price? Because think about this, right? You got to hire American warm bodies, and you got to rent, you got to overhead in an American building. And to have the American tag in some things, you got to be 70%. It just depends on what you're making, right? 70% of it needs to be. And do you think that everything, and specifically EDC and knives, do you think it's really worth that cost?
So I hate to give a dumb answer like yes and no, but first off, it's impossible for us to create these things and beat the competition. It's just impossible. We actually pay things that they don't. Insurance, things like things that they don't, like we have to, right? Like we have to pay a good wage. They don't have to, right? We have to pay for insurance and all that stuff. They don't have to. So there's a lot more expense. And if you want jobs in America to pay well, and you want, people to live well, then we need to be making products, and we need to be supporting USA made products. So I always advocate for buying American made products 100%. And I'll never stop that. However, yeah, there are going to be some examples where if you are limited on cash and you want to get the best for your buck, then it's probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
Now but also though, if you have that little bit more money, right? Like say if you have between $100 and $150, you can get an amazing USA made knife. But if you only have $40, you probably want to go overseas.
Is there not a $40 USA made that I can get?
I wouldn't recommend one.
Not an old buck.
The only
laying
thing
around?
I can think of is Kershaw. Kershaw has some USA made knives, but they're assisted. So
yeah. So I saw a Kershaw Federalist, which was a nail nick made with CPM 154. It was on sale. It's normally like $169. Borelli, the ammo website, they're blowing it out for $59. And so I was like, that wasn't bad.
They got launch series knives, which are automatics, and they have a lot of them. They're great designs, great knives, amazing automatics, and they range between $100 and $150. But they have some old designs that have been around for a long time that are assisted that you can get between $35 and $65, $70.
Yeah, so I don't own a lot of Kershaw. The only Kershaw I really have is the Leak.
That's a good USA one.
And I think the RJ Martin, which is a Chinese, but I don't think I have a lot of. I want more Kershaw. I'm really interested in possibly checking out the Bel Air. Nice guy just mentioned the same thing. He said he's still loving his Bel Air. Is the Bel Air crossbar? That's a crossbar, right?
Yes, okay. It is, and they did a good job with the detent. I actually changed my Omega springs to a pair from Kaiser, and man, it completely made it even way better than it even was, and it was already really good. So,
do they have an issue? Do they have any issues with the Omega springs, kind of like Benchmade does every now and again, or not?
No, they've only recently done crossbar locks, and they actually did a really good job with it. Like they even did a flipper knife, a flipper. Like it's rare to see a crossbar lock with a flipper. There's only a couple that I can even think of, and they did one that was really good.
Well, you know what? So I asked you this a few weeks ago, but how many knives do you own? Is the question.
I definitely have over 1,000.
1,000 knives, like easily 1,000. Like, so I am trying to. Every year on my YouTube page, I do what's called an EDC fire yard sale, and I do a video, and I post a bunch of stuff, And I tell anybody that watches the video, it does decent. It gets, you know, about 8 to 10,000 people watch the video, and people are buying stuff quick because I feel like I don't want to be too gluttonous with my EDC. I get surrounded by bags with survival crap, with knives. I'm telling companies no all the time.
I feel like you're drowning.
Oh my God. Like, how do you get rid of, I know you do giveaways, but like, is there any other ways you get rid of excess content?
Eventually I'm going to do a huge knife sale, and I'm probably going to have to do it in like 10 different videos in order to really, you know, wean it out. But no, I give away a lot, like a lot. I give away to stuff that people don't even know, you know, like just people on the channel. People ask for knives all the time. I give it away. I'll go to other people's channels and give stuff away. I do 2 giveaways a month on to my members.
Okay.
And you know, so I like having them because, one, I always have content I can create. I always have knives I can test. I always have different steels, different blade shapes I can, you know, use in videos, you know, whether it's for sharpening or for testing purposes. But then I also keep some pristine that I never do anything with, and I'm just going to give them away.
So I have a couple of pristine, well, they're for me. So I have the Boker M4 Sherman. Well, it's the Boker M4, and it's made of pieces of the M4 Sherman tank from World War II. It just means something to me.
Oh yeah,
I know what you're talking
about. Yeah.
And so I bought it on base. I paid $400 tax free for it, and it's just something that I'm a big fan of. I only time I pull it out is when people come to the man cave, and it doesn't really make any sense. But I like the fact it's German made. We have to send pieces of the tank over to Germany for them to make it. But I just really like. Do you have a knife that's special to you? Like you only pull it out when you got some folks coming over, a buddy coming over, or something like that, or.
So like I have some really special pieces. Like I have a couple Shirogorovs. Those are very expensive. I have some Hermans that are very, very expensive. My most expensive knife is close to $3,000. I have like some great USA made knives, like some great Hinders, and so those would be kind of like, you know, my specialty knives, I guess. I have a few more than that. Like I have a Rockstead. I have 2 Rocksteads.
Rockstead, that's the company, or is that the name of the knife?
That's the company. It's a Japanese made company, but they're known for doing. Let me just grab it. So I have one here.
So the Rockstead.
This is one of them right here. And if you look, it's got a mirror convex blade.
Oh my God.
This is Japanese made, and they heat treat this steel is heat treated as 67 HRC. So
67 is high. Yeah.
60. Well, 60. But there's a 66.3. You can cut glass.
Really? Like
so
how thick of
how
thick of glass though?
Well, just period. So like you know how they say like only diamonds can cut glass? Well,
yeah,
that's because of that hardness. So here's another one right here. And if you look, it's got a clip that pops out the back right there.
I love that. Yeah, I love that blade. I mean,
and
the
this
scales.
is a button lock. Yeah, and you can see it's a mirror. These things come with a 0 grind. So if you look, there's no edge bevel because it's a 0 grind. So basically, the grind is the edge bevel, which allows them to be insanely sharp. When you get them, they're the sharpest knives you can buy out of the box from a production company, hands down. I've never felt anything sharper than a Rockstead.
So those aren't small batches; those are like straight production.
They're straight production out of Japan, but you can watch their processes, and these guys are. It's like kind of like this. This is the way I think about it. If you were gonna buy a battle ready katana, and I mean like a legit one, you're gonna want it to be made by craftsmen that had passed the lineage down. Right? You're going to want it to be made by the ancestors of real samurais. That's like this, right? These guys are the real deal. They've passed down their processes. You go look at their fixed blades and the work that they do, the hand work that they put into these, the heat treatment, just everything across the board. Like it is 100% like it's perfect as you can get as far as craftsmanship goes. They put everything into it. And that's the way the Japanese do a lot of things. So
right. Wow. See, I need to check some of that. I know CPM. It's like he comes by the channel every now and again, and he'll talk about a knife that just makes Grandpa get excited, like a straight panty dropper of a knife. So, okay, I got a little pop quiz for you, right? So this is a little. So I want to just show you some knives, and I just want to just looking at prices only in the name of it. If you think that the price is overpriced or if it's fair and reasonable, like it's a reasonable price, I'm just going to show them to you just to kind of see what do you think. So we're looking at first the Spyderco Subvert CPM S30V, $430 G10 with the titanium liners.
So it does have the
bucks.
titanium. It has the titanium. So that definitely increases it. Most of their titanium knives, well, at least now, are $400 plus. So it's right there where their standard is for their titanium knives, but it's obviously an expensive knife compared to what you can get a titanium knife for.
And it has G10
They do a great job with
though.
their S30V though. I'll give them that.
Okay.
It's my favorite S30V.
Okay. What about the Benchmade Raghorn hunting knife? $315. I don't know what blade still is made out of.
Absolutely overpriced.
100%.
100%, like double, probably triple. Because put it this way, I can buy right now a handmade custom knife made in the USA to my specs with the heat treat I want, with the steel I want, with the geometry I want, and the handle material I want for less than that.
See, that's the thing. I think Benchmade is riding so hard on the butterfly tax that it's like real life, right? So I don't recommend a lot of Gerber nowadays, but the Gerber downrange Tomahawk, you mess with Tomahawks a lot, is $299. I don't know what it's made of, but just like, I don't know if I would ever spend this much on a Tomahawk. Like, seems a little
made
bit
in the USA or something.
I don't know.
Gerber. I don't understand the price.
Well, what about the Benchmade Weekender? Now, the Weekender, I don't know why people like this knife so much, but this is a newer Weekender with the coated steel, $295.
Yeah, it's not for me. I would say it's overpriced for me. I wouldn't buy it.
Okay.
Somebody else might. They might like it, but it's not my style.
I got you. Okay, so last one. The Shaman at $270. I bought the Shaman. I think I got it for $230 tax free on base. It seems to creep its way back up to $270.
It's a high price, but it's a damn good knife. Damn solid knife. It's a real hard use EDC knife. And when I say that, what I mean is that it has the geometry to slice really good, but still be very tough. It has a lock. I think the lock can hold about 150 pounds, which in order to baton, you want at least 100-pound lock. So
on a pocket knife, yeah.
So you can be you can be pretty tough on it. So all in all, I'll say, it's a phenomenal knife, but the price keeps going up every year. So
yeah, and it's kind of old. It's not. I mean, it's been out for years. I know that I take it hunting. I have no issues with accidentally leaving it outside by a fresh deer that I just killed overnight, and the dew getting on it or anything. I don't have any issues with that at all. I wouldn't leave like some of my.
Have you seen the Bodacious?
I don't. I think I've seen it, but I've never touched one.
I haven't either. I don't know. I'm sure they've had them at blade shows, but I don't think they've dropped them yet. But that's a brand new one, and it looks very similar to the Shaman, but it's also different.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. A lot of these made in America knives, whether they're Hogue, Spyder, the big ones, the big folks that I could talk to my wife and she would know some of these names, will probably be Hogue, Benchmade, Spyderco, Buck, and Case. Well, any ones that they're still making in the USA. The prices just are kind of like this flyway. Some of these prices are just kind of out of this world. That doesn't
make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It's a damn scalpel.
Yeah. So I bought a Boker scalpel, D2 steel, but I paid $35 for it. I use it to open packages, break down boxes. I mean, utility cuts. It works just fine for that.
Well, that's going to be for skinning a deer right there, right? Like, there's a lot of knives you can use for that'll work just as good.
But those knives don't have this logo on the side.
That's true. You got me there.
So that's the biggest thing is the Benchmade. So this is a CPM S90V steel. Is that why you think it's $200?
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Okay.
I'll say that.
That makes a lot of sense. So it just, I think that, okay, so I guess that brings me to my next topic is like these prices are, for some of the knives are kind of like out of this world. But do you think that because of people like me and you, right, content creators, do you think that EDC has gone too far? So the next article I wanted to talk about, it's an article that was written on kitcarry.com. And what they're talking about is, has EDC gone too far? This article came out December 2023. What they're basically talking about is people are carrying maps with them every day, slingshots, They're saying that EDC has become a man's version of a woman's purse, right? Always wanting to carry shit and have stuff at the ready. Like, do you think that you need to have like standalone tools with you if you also carry a Leatherman? Like, do you, in your opinion, do you think EDC has gone too far? It's a two-part question. Do you think it's gone too far because of people like us, or organically it's just people are just kind of like doing whatever they want to do?
I think it's in men's nature. I think because
Okay.
like even if you go back to our cavemen days, we carried, satchels with our little whatever our EDC would have been at that time.
Right.
I grew up in construction vehicles where you have every tool to your disposal. Like any type of tool you need. You got generators, you got air compressors, you got nail guns, you got literally everything you can imagine surrounding you. So at any time you can build or do whatever. If you're broken down, you got mechanics tools. So I just think it's in our nature to want, not saying you have to go that extreme, but it's just in our nature to want to be prepared because we're supposed to be the protectors. We're supposed to be the providers of society, right? So how can we do that if we're not prepared ourselves?
But how are you prepared with like a slingshot or a fidget spinner?
You never know when you need to kill a bird for, a quick meal.
So I kind of shit on, there's a few things I shit on. I've done,
of course,
I've done a couple, I shit on a couple of things in the past, and whether that be stuff that I carry, I've shit on stuff that the best damn EDC carries or other folks carry. Like, it's just, for me personally, I'm just like, what value does that add? But if you like it, fucking carry it, right? I don't care, right?
Right.
But I do think that this is a hobby for some folks. And I don't want to shit on the fact that you want to carry a challenge coin. Well, I do want to shit on it, but I don't hate on the fact, right?
I can actually shit on that. I don't see any utility there, but I see.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, for me personally, it's just like, I do think it's gone far, but I think that it's a hobby that people like. Some people like to snowboard, ride electric vehicles, play Magic the Gathering. We like to EDC. Right. So what type of videos do you think you're about to expand into to push the proverbial cocaine habit? Are you about to start doing some bad content, some wallet content? What do you got for us?
So I want to do all of the above. So I have a USA apparel line coming out right now, and I'm not calling it merch because it's not merch. This is apparel that we're using from the site. It's 100% USA made. It's taken me a long time to be able to get companies and get all this stuff put together. So I'm really proud of it. So I'm going to start pushing that. But other than that, I like finding high quality things for a low price because I know a lot of people are on a budget. So I try to find things like that, but I want to just do lots of testings where it's like this versus this and see which one's better or which one wins, and actually like literally do controlled tests down the line on both of them to see what's going to happen. If you pretty much destroy whatever it is, through the process, but at least the people watching will see which one's better, which one's worth their money, and do things like that. So that's kind of what I'm probably going to do this year. I do want to, I like pushing USA made products as much as possible, but they have to be good. I refuse to push a product of any product. I don't care where it's from. If it's shit, it has to be good. It has to be worth the money. And that's why I get into a lot of dirt with, a lot of companies because, I'll dog something they're doing, or, I'll just basically call it out and just show the truth. And they make it seem like I'm trying to do it for money or content, even though it hurts me on making money. They don't realize, that that's the way it works. So, but anyways, I try to make sure that I'm 100% honest with everything, regardless of, what the information is. I'm just looking for the truth, whatever it is. Right. It doesn't matter, good or bad. Does this tool work? Like, does it work to, the way it's advertised?
Whether it's a bag or a tool or whatever. So I see what you're saying. So is the apparel already available? I'm on your site now. Is the apparel already available, or it's coming?
No, it's going to be available in about a week. I got the final stuff. So I got the first batch in, and now I'm making a couple little changes. I got those showing up by Friday. So after that, we're going to put the orders in to put, as long as I like everything and everything looks good, we're going to put those on the site. And it's just basically like knife art. But some of it's very discreet, like literally just like a little tiny 1-inch knife right here, right? Like, say if you want to go to, I don't know, your
my third grade classroom. Yeah,
exactly right. You're not going to feel like you're screaming something crazy, but it's still there, right? You kind of know if somebody sees it, they're not going to think anything. They're just going to think it's a logo, but it's a cool looking logo. And then a USA flag on the other side, a little 1-inch flag. But
Right.
then some stuff will have like, one knife right here. Maybe, a knife on the back. I've also been placing them right here on the hip, because I kind of like that, because if you're wearing a button up, you can cover it, or you can take your button up off and it's exposed. It's just kind of a unique spot to have a logo on a shirt, and it looks good in my opinion. So we're gonna probably do new knife art once a month, drop like a limited batch of something, just to see if people like it. If they don't, then we won't redo it, but
Okay.
we'll probably do that pretty often.
Okay. Well, if you need some what I'm saying, some models that are 2 biscuits away, I'm 2 biscuits away. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm about 2 biscuits away. I can model your large and XL.
I will
you know what I'm
definitely
saying?
send you some stuff. 100%.
Everybody thinks, I'm just saying, so we can make that stuff happen as well. So next thing I want to say, I'm actually kind of excited about that, because a lot of stuff that I wear, I've had brands reach out to me to wear their shit, and I just kind of don't. So the only company I almost felt comfortable with was Grunt Style, but a lot of their stuff is made in China. But I like their shirts, but it was just like, to lock myself into an apparel to wear on the channel, it just felt, I want to be able to just proudly be able to say like, hey, they're employing Americans, they're paying overhead for an American building, et cetera, et cetera. And to that point earlier about, is Made in America worth it? It could be. So for me personally, here's an example I give you, like EDC stuff. I think that Made in America makes a lot of sense, because a knife or whatever, because it's easy to employ those folks. It's tangible. But like, and another example I would give you is like Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight makes almost all their shit in China and Taiwan, right? But they employ more Americans than Tecton, than Snap-on, than those people make their tools in the States, right? Because there's a few thousand Harbor Freights, so the employees are working in the stores, right? So sometimes I'm not all in on Made in America, because sometimes I'm like, okay, the tools are made in China, but they employ so many Americans in every single Harbor Freight store, right? So, but there's not a Benchmade store, right? So I can't, other than Oregon, I can't roll up to a Benchmade store. So if Benchmade had locations all over America and they were making their stuff in Taiwan, I might be like, okay, they make it in Taiwan, but at least they employ a lot of Americans. There's not really knife stores that I'm okay with them making it in Taiwan, because they sell it, everywhere, So
this is one thing that I've spoke about kind of with some of the knives made in China, and what people don't really put into perspective. Most knives, right? Not all, but a lot of them that are made in China, we actually make a larger cut than China. And this is the reason why. So the designer is in the USA. He gets his cut, right? That when they're not selling them in China, they can't. China can't buy knives like that, right? They have one city where they're allowed to have knives, and that's where they make them. So it's being sold in America. So the postman, the knife dealer, all have to make a cut. Even me, like a channel like me, when I link it, right, I get my little cut, right? So a lot of Americans are making money. So when it winds up boiling down, we make about 58%, and they make, about 42% or whatever on each sale. Now there's going to be some where they make more because it's an in-house design, and everything's done there, and then they just sell it to us. So then they probably make the majority. But a lot of knives, like say Artisan, for an example, right? Artisan is actually owned by an American. He lives in California. So it's a Chinese company that's making the knives, but it's owned by an American. So, when you start looking at all these things, it's, there's, even though you're buying a Chinese made knife, a lot of the money's still coming back to the USA.
So I did a tier list of knives, just kind of shooting from the hip on a live stream a couple of months ago. Artisan, Cutlery, and CJRB. I think they're kissing cousins, or the same company, or similar, or something like that.
Technically, they're 2 different companies, but they use the same factory, so they're the same. It's supposed to be the budget line of Artisan. That's what it's supposed to be.
So my issue is the warranty. So a lot of I sometimes before I buy a knife, I want to know, does a knife company warranty the knife or the human being that bought the knife? In Artisan, at least when I checked it about it, this was a year ago, a lot of their warranty was the human being that can prove that they bought the knife. So some knife companies
Um,
warranty if the logo's on the knife and it's not a counterfeit, they warranty the knife. They don't care.
yeah, yeah,
Artisan
that's how it
warranties the
should be.
buyer, warranties the buyer. So a lot of times I don't recommend
Yeah,
them unless they've changed that.
yeah,
This
I
is
wouldn't
directly
like
from
that
their
either.
website. And so that I had an issue with that.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, I have an issue with that too. I don't like that. I think you should warranty your product regardless. But I can understand like if there was like something that happened that was like 100% user's fault, and you say, "Listen, you're gonna have to give us $10 for a new
Yeah.
blade." I understand that, right? But yeah, not doing anything at all. I hate a company pushing anybody off for any reason. You know, there's because most companies, not all, but most of them, they actually want to stand out and look good in the community, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so they're gonna go up and beyond to take care of problems. I can think of many companies right now. If you called with any issue, they're gonna take care of it right then. And
Yeah,
it's easy, and
100%.
you don't have to have a channel to contact them. You can literally get a hold of them right now, you know. So that to me is something that's awesome. And that's why some of these companies, man, I really respect them because they are putting in the work and they are trying to do really good work and stand by their product and, you know, all that stuff.
So
And
I
some
think
aren't.
that
So
that's a big thing. So Tecton, they make tools. I buy a lot of their tools. Tecton warranties the tool. And they don't care if you found the tool on the side of the road. Their warranty's so easy. You literally can just take a photo of the tool and you don't even have to send it in. They just send you another one.
that's a
So I
Benchmade is like that too.
really Benchmade is that
Well,
simple?
sometimes like if you need screws or something, you
Yeah.
just take a picture of what screw you need, and they'll just send it to you. If it's something they need to work on, obviously you just send it in. But yeah, no questions asked.
Okay, because
I've used the warranty many times.
so I've had a couple of issues with Spyderco warranty. The PM2
I've
I
heard
fucked
that.
it up a little bit, but some of
Yeah,
the like the geometry of the blade was kind of jacked up, and they just didn't want to warranty it. They said it was my
yeah,
fault. So
I've heard that.
I like companies that don't give me a lot of shit, you know, because knives are made to be used, and I don't want you to prescribe that I misused it, if that makes sense. You know, but it
Yeah,
just
the
depends.
best I've seen is Benchmade. SE's technically the best because they have it. Even if you intentionally break it, they'll replace it.
Essie
Which
does
think about,
really.
yeah, you can literally break it on camera on purpose and they'll replace it.
So
That's their warranty.
Essie's so crazy because, well, Randall's a venture company started in South America, and then they dove into Essie, and that's why a
Mhm.
lot of their knives are named after South American things because
Yep,
the companies down
the
there.
lineage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I like Essie stuff, especially in my survival kits, the Kandaru or
Mm.
the Azula or whatever. Essie #4 I like to carry as well in survival kits. I didn't know that warranty was that strong though.
Yeah, they actually, when you go to blade shows, they have all the broken blades. They have a board full of broken blades of people who snapped their blades and that they replaced.
Speaking of Blade Show, are you going to Blade Atlanta?
Yes, I will be there.
Okay. I think
I
I got
still
to
have
make
to
that
get a
happen.
place, but I'm gonna be looking for one very soon.
Okay.
Normally, I try to buy it like a year out, but this time I'm lacking.
So I
But I'll
went to
find
Blade, Texas, and I haven't gotten. I Blade Atlanta. I want to go. I think I might be busy with work, but I'm going to try to get out of
the
it.
best
But
one. The
so,
best one.
so of course you get new shit when you go to a Blade show, but there's new shit coming even before Blade show. And so the Spider Collector, he is teasing a new knife coming from Spyderco. I want to get your thoughts on it. This one is called the Spyderco Charisma. They saying that this knife is the type of knife that can be carried in a shirt pocket. It's I don't know, it looks really slicey. Overall, I think it's gonna be pretty budget. It's a lockback. It looks like it has like a budget actual frame steel. Like everything about it seems to be pretty budget friendly. I
Yeah.
don't know, what is he saying at the blade? Look how small it is. It's pretty small in the hand. And I'm thinking that this thing here overall it's going to be a CTS BDN1 blade steel. Is that budget?
Yes. Yeah. It should be about 75, $80 then. That's
Okay.
what I would guess. Yeah.
And it has a back lock, so you're not going to be flicking that thing open, right?
Yeah, you can, but what you have to do sometimes with backlocks is you can take them apart and there's a spring and you just have
Uh-huh.
to bend it a little bit and it'll make it where you can snap it.
What do you, this pocket clip? So this is upcoming. I don't know how I feel about wire pocket clips, and just I'm not a big fan of deep carry pocket. I get it if you're wearing some thick pants or whatever, but sometimes they get in my way when I'm trying to really use a knife.
I just want a clip to work good in pocket, man. I can't stand a clip that fucks up my pants because it's like I I I I tear up my so many pants pockets, like so many from just dirty clips, like bad clips.
Hmm.
And I to this point, like I have so many clips that work so good. Why would I ever carry a knife that has a bad clip?
That
Like
makes
that
sense.
just ends it for me. When a clip is bad, it'll never ever go in my pocket after one time and me finding out it sucks.
So I like to wear trousers from Vertex because the knife pocket is lined in leather. It has like a little bit of
Yeah.
color matching leather on there, and it
Mhm.
just kind of aggressive pocket clips from flashlights and multi tools and knives don't fuck up your pants. That's why I really like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, wire pocket clips for me, but it is budget, so I can understand why they're going that way. But
And they are
that's
smooth. Wire clips are very smooth in and out of the pocket.
forget it in and out the pocket. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So the last thing I need to talk about, I like to talk about, the maintenance of the week. So must do maintenance of the week, and a couple things to talk about. So the thing here is one thing is one two things I want to talk about. First one is I want you guys to take a look at your combustibles. So if you guys have fire starting stuff stored somewhere, if you have like gear that you don't ever pay attention to, make sure that no moisture has gotten inside that stuff. Make sure it's still viable, it's still usable. Okay, so I want you guys to, I don't know if you guys have your survival kits, but just make sure the shit is still working, all of that type of stuff. And before you just overall ignore it forever, make sure that your stuff is working properly. That's your matches, your tinder, making sure you're full kits. Another thing that you should be doing this week for must do maintenance of the week is knife maintenance. We got Neeves here, we got Jared here. Knife maintenance. I'm not an expert at knife maintenance. I can guess at some things that you should be doing for knife maintenance. But one of the things that I would say is keep it sharp, keep it clean, keep it dry. But do you need to oil your knives, or what do you think about that?
You absolutely need to oil them. So what you should do is you should oil your blade
Hmm.
about once every couple months. So it depends on the steel. Some steels are obviously a lot more corrosion resistant than others, but all steels, if it has steel in it, it has the ability to rust. There's some
Okay.
steels that are very unlikely, but the majority of steels will rust if you don't take care of them. So you just want to coat them in oil. Doesn't matter what oil. It can be a 3-in-1, which is like $4, for a full bottle. It's called 3-in-1. But it doesn't matter. Any oil, just coat the blade, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then dry it off. Do that every couple months, every few months. And obviously, like you said, keep it dry. So in between there, when you get it wet, dry it off immediately. If you cut up a lemon or something like that, rinse it and dry it off. If you do that, you will prevent corrosion for the long haul. The biggest thing with corrosion is people leaving it damp and citrus. Those are the two major things. But depending on the where you live too, because like where I'm at in the winter, there's tons of salt and things like that. Yeah, right there. So that, and then you want to oil. So this depends on the type of detent you have and the type of lock you have. If you have a detent ball, like a frame lock, liner lock, anything like that, you want to lubricate the detent ball. The reason why is because that detent ball rubs against the titanium, or rubs,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, against the steel, and it will wind up getting dry. So a ceramic ball has a self-lubricating property. So it has the ability to stay lubricated for a long time, but when it goes dry, it gets gritty and it will sound gritty. But once you oil it, it'll stay good for a long time, like literally like a year, maybe even longer. But once it goes dry, it'll start sounding like shit when you're opening and closing it. And then you want to oil or grease your pivot. If it's washers, you want grease. If it's bearings, you want oil. That's the way
Okay.
to look at it.
So what do you think about when you get a knife from factory? So when I get a knife from factory, I just open it. I use it, and I try to just,
Mhm.
the parts, in my opinion, need to be worked. They need to be worked together, right? So, but some people advocate oiling a knife when you get it. I don't particularly know if that's smart because oil and grease from the factory sometimes don't mix. They can make grimy and gritty. But would you recommend just opening the knife, using it, or would you recommend, like, if it's the detent sucks or if it's not working how you want it to, open it, making an adjustment, or oiling the knife, or just using it?
So it depends on the style knife. If it's a frame lock or a liner lock, I would put some sort of heavy oil on the detent ball, and then that's it. I don't think you need to oil the pivot. I don't think you need to oil the bearings or the washers or anything like that. Let those break in. They're most likely oiled from the factory anyways. but the detent ball itself, it's about to build a track.
Right.
When you start opening and closing it, like we're talking about, it's going to build a track on that blade. So you want that to be lubricated, and you don't know what type of environment, what type of heat that knife went through to get to you. Because think about some of these shipping containers, man, they could be 120 degrees in there,
Right.
for days in a row. So you don't know how dry that detent ball is. So I drip, I usually use KPL heavy. That stuff works the best for me, and it's got a needle applicator, so it's really easy to get right on that little ball. But if it's like a washer knife, like a Benchmade or a Spyderco or something like that, you don't need to do anything because it's phosphor bronze washers. Eventually, you're going to want to use some sort of grease. You can technically use oil, but eventually you're going to want to grease them up and let it go. Teflon washers are the best though. If you have anything in Teflon, you don't have to do nothing. Teflon is the most self-lubricating pivot thing we have. And it's literally, the more you don't touch it or do anything with it and just open and close it, the better it gets. Wow. That's how it works. If you oil it, it actually goes like backwards.
So
just leave it alone.
James is saying that you should use food safe for your EDC if you cut food. Is 3-in-1 food safe if I cut up my kids' apples and shit? I'm not positive.
Okay. I've never had a problem with it, but I'm a caveman, so.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I will use my knives to like slice some apples and some oranges for my kiddos or whatever. And so I never thought about oiling it so often. And I guess that's something that EDC for fun.
Miller oil's food safe.
Okay. So EDC for fun says I always disassemble, clean, and oil my knife from factory. I don't do all that when I get it, but is that something? So I got a knife from CDC. Their knife is OEM by I think QSP. But the CDC donut I got from them at Blade Show, and it was just, the flipper was way easier to use than it's a liner lock. It was way easier to use than the actual thumb stud. The thumb stud was digging in my nail. The detent was just so fierce. So I used a flipper for a while, but I was almost tempted to take it apart. Would you recommend what EDC for fun is saying, or what? Take it apart, clean it.
Certain ones, like if you notice something's going on with it, for sure take it apart. Like certain ones, like button locks, the biggest thing with a button lock is the pivot or one of the screws will be loose just a little bit, and that will completely throw out the entire knife because the entire locking mechanism goes around whether or not this scale is perfectly flat. Right. So if it just has one little loose part, your detent will be almost impossible to open, or maybe it'll be very light. And all you have to do is adjust the hardware. That's all you have to do. But some will come gritty. Some will come with like the issue that you had, and most likely that was a burr around the detent hole. So what happens is when they machine the hole, they didn't do a deburring process, and so there's a little wire around the detent hole, and it makes the detent stick inside of it. And all you got to do is you could take it apart and just take anything hard and go around the edge, or you can literally just put pressure on the lock bar like this. Just put pressure on the lock bar while you're opening and closing it, and do that.
And now another thing,
it just kind of knocks the edge of the hole down. But it might be stubborn, so you might have to take it off and just take like a little piece of ceramic and go around the edge. That's usually what I use, is just a little piece of ceramic of any sort. But you can also tune the lock bar. So if your detent's ever too strong or too weak, you can, if it's a liner lock, you can take it apart and you can bend the lock bar in or out to make the detent stronger or weaker. If it's a button lock, you just stretch the spring on the inside. Just about every single locking mechanism is adjustable when it comes to the detent. If it's a back lock, there's a spring in the back.
What about, do you have videos on it? Because I go to YouTube University for shit like this.
Yes, I have videos on tuning detents, fixing lock bars, fixing lock rock, and things like that. Yep.
Okay. All right, so we got a couple questions here or comments as well. Mike and Ike's EDC, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a goddamn member. He says 940 Osborne and the nutsack sling bag with all the goods is what he's carrying today. Listen, I like the nutsack wax canvas. I know you were talking about carrying wax canvas recently, and so he has the 940 Osborne by Benchmade. I was carrying my wife, so I had this podcast is called the Mantuary Podcast. I had Danny Lene is my wife's name, and she's not a knife girl, right? But I made her choose a knife because she is an interior designer. She's always going on construction sites. I say, you need a knife. You're opening up boxes of tile. You're cutting small pieces of drywall, all sorts of shit. So I laid out a bunch of knives, and she was really stuck between the We Knife Banter and the 945 by Osborne. And she ended up getting the black and blue Osborne, and I miss it. It was my knife. But that's her favorite right now. So I like the
Banter.
I haven't seen the new Banter, no.
It's got a worn clip. It's really good. It's really good. I like it. Yeah.
It
I
was
like it
probably
even more than the Spear Point.
It's so crazy because we sent me a Banter. I like it a lot. I don't know. It's just a little, I think it's a liner lock. It's just something
It's
about
boring.
it. It's just, it's a little boring, you know.
Yeah, it's boring.
Bentley
That's
says
that's what I kind of like about it. Is just that it's a tool. I see
Gets the job
somebody,
done.
before you read that really quick, I just want to say something because somebody said, don't use 3-in-1, use, I think he said, frog lube. I wasn't recommending it. I was saying you could even use that, meaning like if you're on a budget, you could even use that, you know. Go ahead.
Okay.
There's a lot more things I could recommend.
Oh, EDC for fun. It says, no, don't use 3-in-1, use frog glue. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess is it pricey? I thought the 3-in-1 wasn't that. I don't want to guess.
3-in-1's so cheap. You could literally buy it like, you know, I usually buy it for $3 to $5 in like double packs. Like you can get them on sale all the time, and you can just use them for things that you have to oil a lot. It cleans, lubricates, and prevents. So that's the 3: cleans, lubricates, and then prevents, corrosion. So and it works, but it's cheap. That's the point.
And that's why it's called the 3-in-1. Okay. So nice guy B1. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a goddamn member. He says Knife Joker has great deal on crew wear PM3. So if I look that up, I'm going on Knife Joker. I see $157. This isn't the PM3.
No, it's native.
It's a little native. Yeah. I like the way that looks though. But I've never heard of Knife Joker.
Oh yeah, Knife Joker's got like exclusives, their own stuff. So like if there's a model that does really well, they'll have their own versions of it.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I never heard of that. Okay, something interesting to look at. I appreciate that, nice guy. We also have the Widow's Son says, I read somewhere that you should maintain rechargeables every 3 months to extend their knife. I have a reminder on my phone to list everything that I charge. So Widow's Son, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a goddamn member. One thing I would say is that for my rechargeables, I check them monthly because I got so many batteries all over the place. I have the back of my truck has full Molly panels back there. So I have fire extinguishers. I got all sorts of battery banks. I got walkie-talkies. So I have infrared systems. I got a lot of, I have a maintenance schedule for my batteries. Like, how do you go through maintenance for your EDs? Do you have a schedule? Like, how do you know when it's time to do some maintenance on other stuff other than knives?
I carry battery packs in all my backpacks. Each one of them has its own. And then what I do is, every once in a while, I'll need to use it. So what I'll do is I'll literally check it that morning for that day. And if it needs to be fully charged or needs to be recharged, I'll recharge it. And then, the next time when I know that I'm about to do something, I'll charge it. And I do that so often that I know they're always fully charged.
Yeah, that's makes
kind
sense.
of the way it goes.
A lot of times I have shit that's laying around. EcoFlow sends me battery banks or power banks. And I need to make sure I'm always doing maintenance. So I kind of agree with you. It's just kind of keeping up a routine. And Ian says, notice me. He wants you to say hi.
Hey, what's up, Ian? How you doing, man? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I recently got? And I haven't used it. I don't even know how to use it, right? But I have one. It's a solar panel with a power bank. So basically what you can do is you can toss the solar panel wherever outside. And then you hook up the power bank to a battery, and you can charge a battery to use for whatever, right? Whatever you need, whether it's to start a car or run some power in your house, or maybe even run your house, whatever.
Right.
Which is kind of awesome because you can always have a fully charged battery anywhere you go. Like even like if you kept this thing in the car, because it's super flat, like, it's kind of large, but it's flat. So you could like put it just about anywhere in a vehicle or something. But yeah, I got one of those. And like I said, I don't have it hooked up yet or anything, but I figured it might be a good idea. You never know.
Absolutely never know. And so first off, shout out to channel sponsor EcoFlow. They send me power stations all the time, but I'm not a fanboy of EcoFlow. I just like them a lot. FJ Dynamics makes some great power stations as well. But I have a power. My circuit breaker to my house is right over my shoulder over here, and I have a power station by EcoFlow that's powerful enough to run my entire house for 4 days.
Nice.
So there's a lot of them. You know, gas is great. Gas generators are fantastic, but we don't have to sleep on these LiFePo batteries. They last 10 years versus regular lithium ion batteries. So they're really good. They charge really fast, and I like them a lot. So you just gotta, battery tech is advancing. Like for me personally, I cut my own grass. I don't know about you, but I cut my own fucking grass, weed whack, you know, and I'm tired of maintaining gas engines. So I have electric everything. Are you out there mowing shit?
10 years. Do you have to replace it after 10 years?
So the batteries inside the power station can last up to 10 years. I haven't had
so you
one.
can just replace just the battery.
You can, or I would just get a whole new power station. But
Okay.
you know, so I have one hooked up to my coffee mess and my computer, so that if the power goes out, I can save my work or whatever. But it's
and get coffee.
And get coffee, right? That's the most important thing. So Nolan says, what do you think about the QSP Hawk? I only own the Penguin. I've never heard of the Hawk.
I'm trying to think of which one the Hawk is. I've tried pretty much all of them. Let me just look it up really quick.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Oh yeah. I've tried this. Yeah, it's a good one. I think people tend to like the Penguin a little bit more.
Right.
But it's a good knife. It's a solid knife. It's snappy. It's got great action.
Look at that
good
price.
geometry.
Yeah.
See, I love a spear point blade too. Like I'm a sucker for a spear point. I love a good spear point. And the reason why is because I always think about, you know, like what my blade can't do and wanting it to do it. So
Right.
The spear point is the most versatile blade shape you can get of all blade shapes. It's not saying it does everything the best, but it can do everything. And that's what I love about it.
So for me, I think my number one is probably an aggressive tanto, like a slicey tanto. And then I don't know why me personally, it's probably neck and neck with a sheep and a spear. Yep. It just really depends. But like when I'm hunting, I just want like a super reliable tanto and a drop point with me when I'm hunting. So it just depends on when I'm doing it.
Modified sheep's foot. I like Warncliffs too. I really like Warncliffs. I like modified Warncliffs probably the best.
Okay.
You know, where instead of it being perfectly straight, it has a little bit of belly, just that little bit to get that tip just up just a little tiny bit higher. You know, I always think about if I have to plunge it into something, you know, I want to be able to.
I think the Hogue deck is a modified warranty, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
that
makes sense.
That one's unique though. It's definitely a unique one for sure.
Overall, no, that makes a lot of sense. Well, folks, listen. First off, Jared Neeves Knives, I appreciate you stopping by the Mantuary podcast for the Man Cave. And listen, I've linked up in the description of this video Neeves channel. Go there, check it out. Get yourself some video. I never show knife sharpening. I don't know how to do it. That's where I go to learn how to do this stuff. So check it out. Any parting words for us before we wrap it up?
No, I appreciate you having me. Hopefully we can do this again. I like doing these. And yeah, you guys know where to find me, Neeves Knives. I appreciate you guys showing up and hanging out with us. I appreciate you having me. And yeah, until next time.
Until next time, guys, I appreciate y'all stopping by. We will speak